You go to Campbellsville University's webpage. And let's see, under students, there's a link for library. So everybody see how I got there? I went to campbellsville.edu. I dropped down the menu for students, and I'm going to click on library. Now this is going to require a login. Our discussion last semester was when you use subscription databases like EBSCOhost, a subscription implies that you have paid for it. As a tuition-paying student at Campbellsville University, you have indeed paid for access to the virtual library. No matter where you end up next year, if you're at Lindsay, Western, UK, wherever, you're going to have access to the virtual library, which will include EBSCOhost as a database search engine. So basically what this allows you to do is to search what we would refer to as print resources, but using an electronic database means to get to them. So even though you're using an electronic means to get to these sources, these are technically print sources. So they're reliable and they're valid. This is a much better way to do research than just going to Google and doing a regular search on the internet. So once you click on library, it's going to take you to the landing page for the Montgomery Library. And when you scroll down, you can click in a couple of different places. If you click CU Search, it's going to take you to the login page. You should be able to put in a username and a PIN. Now, last semester we had to work on this. Morgan, remind me of how everyone got their ID number and PIN. Okay. So you received it in an email, and if you're new to 112 this semester, we may have to request that your username and password be emailed to you. If you have access to TigerNet, so Campbellsville calls their student database TigerNet in the same way that Western calls theirs TopNet. So every university has a different name for theirs. It's that same login, right? Morgan, you log in with the TigerNet credentials to the library. I think so, or your Moodle credentials if you're taking an online course and using Moodle. So those should work as well. If not, send me an email and I'll request that McKinsey request for us that you get the login information. So you have to be logged in order to do this. And it's going to allow you to search all of these online databases. I recommend the very first thing you do, it defaults to basic search. I would recommend that you click on advanced search because it's going to allow you to put in limiters. And so today's topic is about Americans gaining weight. So maybe we'll want to examine how fast food has had an impact on weight gain. I'm going to put in my search terms like that, fast food and weight gain. And I'm just going to leave it pretty broad right now and search and see how many results we get. Always make sure, and it's the default, that full text is checked. Sometimes you will get just an abstract. An abstract is a condensed synopsis or just a kind of a summary of a source. You can't quote from an abstract. You want to quote from the full text. And by the way, this is going to search for you newspapers and journals and academic published papers. What's the difference between a journal and a magazine? Because when you get into some of your college classes, your professors are going to say, I want 3 journal article summaries. Okay? So journal is different than a magazine. Who's the readership for a magazine? Casual readership, general audience. Give me a name of a title of a magazine that you might find at the Walmart checkout line. Cosmopolitan, People. Say it again. Yeah, those Food Network and recipe magazines. All of those are a general readership. So journals then, by contrast, are for a specific academic audience. Do you know the titles of any journals? The New England Journal of Medicine, very specific readership. Psychology Today, Education Weekly, Those are for a specific audience, and they're written by professionals who are practicing in that field. So when you search here, you're going to find journal articles, and you're going to see that they have volumes and issues and that sort of thing. So I searched fast food and weight gain, and I got 1,478. So I may want to use the advanced search tool to limit my results. The first move that I make is up here where it says fast food. I'm going to change that to in the title. So if it mentions fast food in the title, then chances are the whole article is going to be about fast food. So let's see, we've got 1,478. And when I add that limiter, we're still working on it. It dropped it to 201. Okay, so that helps me a lot to not have to weed through articles that aren't necessarily about what I want to read. I can also change the publication date. So you may have a professor that says, I want you to do a journal article summary from within the last 5 years. And so you could change this, and let's change it to 2016. And I think it will update when you click out of it or hit enter. And so now it's only going to give us the most recent. Now I'm down to 10. So I've gone from 1,400 to 200 to 10 just by 3 clicks, actually 2 clicks. So this first one says weight gain in mid-childhood and its relationship with the fast food environment. Sounds exactly what I want to write about today. I can click on the PDF full text, and I'm going to see a facsimile of how it originally looked in print. And look, it's from a journal of Public Health. Look at that. Lovely, right? This makes it so convenient. But wait, there's more. So if I click on the citation tool, this is perhaps the best thing about this. And I've got that stinking thing there. Cite. So click on the icon that says Cite. This semester we're using APA. All I have to do is highlight, right-click, copy, and then I'm going to paste that into my paper. How lovely is that? So let me remind you again about APA format. One of the easiest things that you can do is go into Docs to create, or I created out of Drive, from a template, choose the APA report. Remember, it's going to give you a lot of things you don't need. Just delete those things, like you don't need an author's note or an abstract or any of that kind of stuff. But it does give you the correct running head. So look at the capitalization there. Running is capitalized, head is lowercase. You should have that on your paper. The title of your paper then is going to be in all caps. So that should be the case. Since I don't need author's note, I'm going to delete that. I don't need the abstract, I'm going to delete that. But if I go all the way down to the references page, really all I have to do here is just highlight that, paste it, make sure references is centered, and look, it even did my spacing correctly. So that's possibly the biggest advantage of using the virtual library, is that it does your citation for you. Now, when you cite that source, okay, so we've got Pierce, Bray, Horsewolf, 2018. There are 3 pieces of information that I can include in this. So I can include the page number, the author's last names, and the date. So the way that's going to look in my paper, if I have a summary of the source, a paraphrase of the source, or a direct quotation, I must cite it. If it's word for word, you put it in quotation marks, but if it's summary, it's not in quotation marks. So that means at the end of that sentence, I'm going to open up parenthesis. I'm going to put the author's last name, comma, the date of publication, comma, P period, and the page number, close parenthesis, period. That's an APA in-text citation. So you'll hear me refer to that as an in-text citation or a parenthetical citation. Those terms are interchangeable. But MLA is a little different. Remember, MLA is just the author's last name and page number with no comma, no PG, just it would be Dodson 301 and that's it. APA requires author's last name, and since you've got three in that article that I just showed you, it would be all three of them. The date of publication, the year of publication, and then the page number with a P period in front of it. Now, if in the setup I said, Dodson writes in his article that blah, 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 in the parentheses, I would just have 2019, page 301. So if I provide any of that information in the actual sentence, I don't include it in the parenthetical in-text citation. Yes, and you would use an ampersand. So the way that would look is if we've got three authors, it would look like that. Good question. And where do you go to find how to do that? Purdue Online Writing Lab. So just remember, if I want to find APA formatting guidelines, I go to Purdue OWL. I guarantee you some of you will text me next year from college and say, Mr. Dodson, what's the name of that website where I find APA formatting? I forgot. And that's fine. You can text me those questions after you graduate. But here's where you go and find all of that information. And it shows you how to do the basic formatting of the page. It shows you how to do the references and the in-text citations. So right there, in-text citations, the basics. It gives you guidelines for how to handle short quotations. And it shows you there, like, according to Jones, there's the year and then the page numbers here, as opposed to doing them all three like this. Okay?